So we are starting with adrenal physiology. So the adrenal gland, we have two main components, medulla and cortex. Medulla is the central one and cortex is the outer one. This cortex is divided again in three parts. First one is GFR is the sequence, glomerulosa, fasciculata and reticularis. Now the cell arrangement in these three layers is different. Here you can see that they are oval cells and they are arranged in clusters. Let's say this is one cluster, second cluster, third cluster, right? So we have here oval cells and arranged in clusters. In fasciculata we have fascicle or bundles, and in reticularis we have reticulum or net-like arrangement of cells. So this was about the cell arrangement. Now about hormone production. See, the cortex is roughly 70% of weight and medulla is 30%. In this cortex, the 70% is 50% is fasciculata and the rest two are 15-7. So now, and medulla is obviously 28%. So the hormone production, cortex is making mineralocorticoids. Mineral refers to sodium here. So they are doing the job of sodium and water reabsorption, right? So minerals are aldosterone and deoxycorticosterone. Fasciculata, glucocorticoid, which is cortisol and corticosterone, and reticularis, the bottom one, releases sex steroids DHEA and androstenedione. What it's andro? See, andro represents to androgens, which are sex hormones, right? So androstenedione, aldosterone, cortisol, and DHEA androstenedione. So these were the hormones. Medulla releases epinephrine and norepinephrine. So these were just name of the hormones. Now, how are these hormones regulated? Means this gland is secreting these hormones, right? So who is telling it to release those hormones? So we have three regulators. We are studying this in the next slide. So here you can see the hypothalamus is releasing CRH, which is telling anterior pituitary to release ACTH. Now this ACTH is telling adrenal glands to release cortisol. So cortisol is under control of ACTH, right? So we have ACTH regulating cortisol and DHEA, sulfate and androstenedione. So the ACTH is regulating these two things. Now this glomerulosa is not regulated by ACTH. See here, whenever there is less intracellular fluid, the kidney releases renin, and the renin, which through a lot of sequence tells adrenal gland to release endosterone. So endosterone is under angiotensin 2 regulation, which is RAS system. So this was entirely different and this is different. How it's different? Let's say this is your brain and spinal cord. Simple understanding of this is, let's say a one simple nerve is coming from your spinal cord and it is telling your adrenal medulla to release adrenaline or epinephrine. So this nerve is of sympathetic system. So the sympathetic system, the your brain is controlling medulla to release epinephrine and norepinephrine. Done. The function we are dealing in this slide in a lot of detail, so we don't have to read it here, or we have done this. Now if you give ACTH injection, then we know ACTH is responsible for only two parts, fascicularis and reticulosa. It doesn't stimulate glomerulosa. So there will be hypertrophy of adrenal gland. Why? Because whenever there is more ACTH, it will keep on stimulating this gland and the size will increase, and this increase in size is hypertrophy, right? So we won't have any zona glomerulosa hypertrophy because ACTH is not stimulating it. Done. So now we are studying how are these steroid hormones synthesized. We studied here that they were these all these hormones are steroid hormones. So we are seeing how is this individual part making these hormones, right? So let's say this is the adrenal cortex cell, and in adrenal cortex this is zona glomerulosa cell. So what will happen is the cholesterol is a raw material for everything that will make in this cell. Cholesterol is literally going to make anything in this slide, okay? So when the cholesterol comes inside, with the help of this star enzyme, it enters mitochondria, and from here cholesterol is making aldosterone. Why? Because this is a glomerulosa cell, and glomerulosa makes what? Aldosterone. So we have aldosterone from cholesterol, and the enzyme about it will separately study in another slide. So this is a fasciculata cell, which is adrenal cortex cell only. here cholesterol enters, the same thing happens. Star enzyme, it enters mitochondria, but now cholesterol is making cortisol here. Why? Because fasciculata cells make cortisol and the enzymes are different. So a different product is from the same raw material, cholesterol. Same thing happens in reticulitis. Cholesterol enters star enzyme, it goes in the mitochondria, and cholesterol is making DHEA and androstenedione. Androstenedione. DHEA and androstenedione. With the help of these enzymes. Now we'll study how is this exactly going on. Means this one cholesterol is making these four things, four different things, right? How it's doing and how are the enzymes playing role in all this we are studying. So first, cholesterol is converted into pregnenolone. Now pregnenolone with the help of this hydroxylase is converted into hydroxypregnenolone, and with the help of lyase it's converted into DHA. So from cholesterol we made DHEA. Which are the two enzymes here? Hydroxylase and lyase. Don't go with these numbers, just get a proper orientation. First is hydroxylase, second is lyase. Hydroxylase is adding hydroxyl group and making it hydroxy. Now, I don't want to make DHA. I want to make L. I don't want to make DHA. I want to make androstenedione from this. So what I will do? I have another enzyme called hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase 3 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. This will convert this into progesterone and hydroxyprogesterone. So from pregnenolone we have progesterone analogs. So what happened was cholesterol first converted into pregnenolone. From here it goes like this. This enzyme is converting both of these guys into this, and this with the help of hydroxylase is converted into hydroxyprogesterone, and this hydroxyprogesterone with the help of lyase is converted into androstenedione. So now I made these two hormones, but I want that this cholesterol should make aldosterone and cortisol. So what I will do? I have another enzyme, beta hydroxylase. This will convert both this progesterone into different intermediates. So from here, let's say X is from here, let's say W is from. So these are not gonna make androstenedione. Whenever this enzyme is there, these three things are gonna go in this pathway and will have aldosterone and cortisol. Now what will decide that from here will make aldosterone or cortisol is this aldosterone synthase. If the cell is having this enzyme, then aldosterone will form. If not, then cortisol is formed. Done. So now we have to remember these three lines, that glomerulosa, we all know, glomerulosa makes aldosterone, so it has aldosterone synthase. The fasciculata makes what? Fasciculata makes cortisol, so the predominant enzyme here is beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. The hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase is the one responsible to take this all in this pathway, right? So the cortisol whenever made, the cell of it has beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, and whenever we want to make DHEA or androstenedione, we need these lyase and hydroxylase, right? So in reticulitis the predominant enzymes are these. Now I have to tell you one thing, that all these three cells are going to have every enzymes, but some enzymes will be stronger or predominant in some cells, which will make different products. So the raw material is the same, but the products are different in different cells. And why is this entire story important? Because whenever the enzymes won't be there, or the defect of enzyme will cause decrease in different products. Okay, so we need to study those defects, and for those defects I need to tell you this entire pathway, right? So now let's see which are the defects. So let's start from the very basic. Hypothalamus stimulate pituitary to release ACTH. Now this adrenal gland with this stimulation will make cortisol. From where? From cholesterol it is making cortisol, right? And this cortisol is giving a negative feedback to both of these to stop releasing ACTH. So cortisol decreases ACTH, I can say, right? Now if these enzymes which are making cortisol from cholesterol, which are these enzymes? See, these entire enzymes, all of these enzymes which are making cortisol from cholesterol, if there is any defect in these enzymes, then cortisol will decrease, with then the negative feedback will be lost and ACTH will increase. So the ACTH will keep on stimulating this gland to release cortisol, but cortisol is not gonna made because there are no enzymes. So the gland will be hypertrophied, and this is congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Done. And which part, fascicularis and reticularis, will be hypertrophied because the ACTH does not stimulate glomerulosa. There will only be two parts hypertrophied. So why is this congenital adrenal hyperplasia happening? Because of enzyme. And why congenital? Because the enzyme defect, DNA, genes, all represents to the hereditary or congenital disorders. Done. Okay, so now we are seeing that, let's say this is the pathway. Now I don't have this enzyme 17 alpha hydroxylase. Let's say I don't have this hydroxylase enzyme. Then if there is no enzyme, then the pathway will not go in this direction. So there won't be androstenedione or DHEA, right? So the entire pathway will be shifted in this direction. So if I don't have this hydroxylase, then there will be increased aldosterone, right? The second slide, let's see. I have cholesterol. From cholesterol I want to make DHEA. So I have made DHA, but now this enzyme is not there. This is 3 beta dehydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. So if there is no this enzyme, then none of the products will be from. Only thing which is from is DHA, right? And now if I don't have, let's say, let's look at the entire pathway. If I don't have this 21 beta hydroxylase enzyme, then I won't be able to make aldosterone or cortisol, but there will be a lot of DHEA and androstenedione. So different enzyme defect is causing different things. So now, due to defect in all these enzymes, some of the substance will be increased, some of the products will be decreased. How it will happen? First, star enzyme. If there is no star enzyme, then nothing can be made, right? The star enzyme is responsible for transport inside the mitochondria. So cholesterol will not go inside the mitochondria and nothing will be made. Second is beta hydroxylase. See here. This is beta hydroxylase. If this enzyme is not there, then there is no aldosterone, no cortisol. So we'll have decrease aldosterone and decrease cortisol, while the other two will increase. Both of these will increase, right? Now hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, if there is no this enzyme, then all these pathways stop. Only thing which is made is DHEA, right? So only DHEA increases, other everything decreases. And if alpha hydroxylase is not there, then from here, let me change the color. From here the pathway shifts here only. From here the pathway shifts here, so there will all be only be what, aldosterone increase. So now whenever there is increase in aldosterone, we'll have hypertension. As sodium and or reabsorption increase, water increase, and we'll have hypertension. We'll study it again ahead. Now let's focus on this. If I have increased both the sex hormones like DHEA and androstenedione, if both are increased, then there is virilization. And what's virilization? Let's say we have a female and a male. In male, if this defect happens, male already have sex hormones, a little bit increase will not matter. But in female, if there is increased DHA and androstenedione because of beta hydroxylase deficiency, then she'll have virilization features, which are male feature development like deep voice, body hair growth, and clitomegaly will be present in females. But important thing is, it will virilization will happen only when both the sex hormones are increased. If there is increase in only one sex hormone, DHEA, then this DHA is not that strong to cause virilization. Androstenedione is more stronger, so we'll have less masculization features as compared to this one. Done. So we are done with virilization. So this is virilization, which is facial hair growth and male characteristics in the female. As obviously adrenal gland is present in male and females both. So